David, at 28, was a man who carried the strength and resilience of his roots in every fiber of his being. His skin, a deep ebony tone, gleamed under the light, and his brown eyes, always attentive, revealed a sharp intelligence and unwavering kindness. A pediatrician, David dedicated his life to caring for the most vulnerable, a reflection of his own journey of overcoming challenges. He was not just an exemplary professional. He was a pillar of his community, a man of principles who believed in justice and equality. His morality was unquestionable, forged in years of struggle and learning. Psychologically, David was a cautious optimist, always seeking the good in people, but never naive about the adversities of the world. He had an easy smile, but his eyes held the seriousness of someone who had faced many challenges. By his side, Sarah, also 28, was the embodiment of grace and determination. Her blonde hair, falling in soft waves over her shoulders, framed a face with delicate features and piercing blue eyes. A renowned lawyer, Sarah possessed a brilliant mind and a burning passion for justice. She was the voice of those who could not speak for themselves, a tireless advocate for human rights. Her morality was as solid as David's, and together they formed an unbeatable duo, united by a love that blossomed in high school corridors. Psychologically, Sarah was pragmatic and resilient, capable of remaining calm under pressure and analyzing complex situations with clarity. She was the family's rock, the silent force that propelled everyone forward. And at the center of their universe was Lily, an 8-year-old girl with her mother's fair skin and blonde hair, but with her father's expressive eyes and contagious smile. Lily was the joy of the house, a curious and lively child with an imagination that knew no bounds. She loved to draw, invent stories, and explore the world around her with captivating innocence. Her presence filled the home with laughter and vibrant energy, a constant reminder of the love that united David and Sarah. Lily was living proof that love has no color, no race, only the ability to unite souls. She was hope, the promise of a future where differences would be celebrated, not judged. The family decided to spend their vacation at a luxurious resort in New York, a vibrant and cosmopolitan city that promised a perfect blend of culture, entertainment, and relaxation. The chosen hotel, the Grand Hyatt New York, was an icon of elegance and comfort, known for its imposing architecture and impeccable service. David and Sarah wanted to provide Lily with an unforgettable experience, away from routine and close to new discoveries. Upon their arrival, the lobby's air conditioning, with its subtle scent of jasmine and wood, enveloped them in an immediate sense of well-being. The soft light filtering through the enormous glass windows created a welcoming atmosphere, and the discreet hum of guests and staff added a soundtrack of tranquility. Lily, with her wide eyes, pointed to the shimmering chandeliers and abstract artworks adorning the walls, her voice a whisper of admiration. David felt a warmth in his chest seeing the happiness on his daughter's face, a feeling Sarah shared, squeezing his hand affectionately. The first 2 days were a dream. They explored the hotel's surroundings, visited Central Park, where Lily ran freely among the trees and fed the pigeons, and marveled at the lights of Times Square at night, which painted the sky with a kaleidoscope of colors. The taste of New York pizza, crispy and juicy, still lingered in their memories, and the sound of honking taxis and distant sirens blended into the urban symphony they were beginning to love. At the hotel, they enjoyed the heated pool where Lily splashed happily, and the exquisite dinners at the restaurant, where David's laughter softly echoed, filling the space with joy. Every moment was a brushstroke of happiness on the canvas of their vacation, a perfect picture of unity and love. The atmosphere was light, the service impeccable, and the sense of belonging was palpable. They were just a family, enjoying a well-deserved rest with no premonition of what the third day held for them. On the third day, the sun shone with the same intensity, but a heavy shadow was about to fall upon the family. Sarah had left early for a hotel-organized hike, an opportunity to enjoy the lush nature surrounding the city. David and Lily decided to spend the morning by the pool, a refuge of crystal-clear waters and children's laughter. The smell of chlorine mixed with the scent of sunscreen and the sound of dives and splashes filled the air with vibrant energy. Lily, in her colorful swimsuit, played happily in the shallow end, while David watched her from a lounge chair, a peaceful smile on his face. Suddenly, a shrill voice, laden with contempt, cut through the air like lightning in a clear sky. "What do you think you're doing with that child?" The voice belonged to a middle-aged woman with impeccably styled gray hair and a disapproving gaze that seemed to pierce David. She was dressed in an elegant swimsuit and dark sunglasses that hid part of her expression, but the rigidity of her posture and the tone of her voice were unmistakable. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her thin lips curled into a gesture of repulsion. Morally, she exuded an air of superiority and prejudice, believing herself entitled to judge and intervene in others' lives. Psychologically, she was a person rooted in stereotypes, unable to see beyond skin color, and with a pathological need to control and impose her worldview. David, confused, stood up. "Excuse me? She's my daughter." The woman, however, paid no heed. Her eyes, now visible above her glasses, fixed on Lily and then on David with an intensity bordering on fury. "Don't lie to me. I know what you're doing. White children don't walk around with people like you." Before David could react, she lunged forward, her hands outstretched, and pulled Lily close to her, as if rescuing her from imminent danger. The cold, unexpected touch made Lily let out a small cry of surprise and fear, and she clung to David's leg, her eyes welling up. David's heart pounded. A wave of anger and disbelief washed over him, but he tried to remain calm. "Let go of my daughter. I am her father." Confusion set in. Other guests, drawn by the commotion, began to gather, their gazes curious and some, unfortunately, already judgmental. The murmur grew louder, and the sound of splashes in the pool was replaced by whispers and exclamations. The smell of chlorine now seemed suffocating, and the sun, previously friendly, seemed to burn David's skin with cruel intensity. Within seconds, 2 hotel security guards, large, imposing men in their dark uniforms, appeared. Their faces were impassive, but their eyes, trained to identify threats, fixed on David. The woman, with an air of triumph, pointed at David. "He's kidnapping this child. He doesn't belong here." Without questioning, without investigating, the guards acted. One of them grabbed David by the arm with unnecessary force, while the other positioned himself between him and Lily. The feeling of the grip on David's arm was humiliating, the physical pain mixed with the pain of injustice. He tried to explain, his voice choked with indignation. "I am her father. My wife is staying here. Check it." But his words fell on deaf ears. The sight of his daughter, frightened and crying, being held by a stranger while he was treated like a criminal, was unbearable. The air seemed thin, and the sound of his own breathing was a roar in his ears. The situation escalated rapidly. The woman continued to shout accusations, and the guards, instead of calming the situation, seemed more concerned with restraining David. The humiliation was palpable, the prejudice visible. And then the unmistakable sound of police sirens ripped through the air, announcing the arrival of a new layer of terror. David felt a chill down his spine. Injustice, once a distant cloud, now materialized in invisible handcuffs, binding him to a reality he never imagined he would face. He was led out of the pool area, under the curious and shocked gazes of the guests, like a criminal, while Lily, in tears, reached out for him, being pulled away by the woman who held her in a possessive and unhealthy embrace.
Sarah returned from the hike, invigorated, the smell of damp earth and pine still on her clothes and the sound of birds in her ears. The afternoon sun kissed her skin, and a sense of peace enveloped her. She could hardly wait to tell David and Lily about the breathtaking views and the renewed energy that nature had provided her. As she approached the hotel, however, a strange tension hung in the air. The usual lobby buzz seemed more intense, and the gazes of staff and guests were laden with morbid curiosity. A shiver ran down her spine, a dark premonition that made her quicken her pace. Upon entering the lobby, the hotel manager, a man with a pale face and evasive eyes, approached her. His voice was a hesitant murmur as he tried to explain the situation, but the words got lost in his mouth. Sarah felt her blood run cold. "Where is my husband? Where is my daughter?" Her voice, once soft, now echoed with an authority that demanded answers. The manager, visibly uncomfortable, finally revealed the terrible truth. David had been taken by the police, accused of kidnapping, and Lily was with the woman who started the commotion. The news hit Sarah like a lightning bolt, emptying the air from her lungs. The smell of jasmine and wood, once comforting, now seemed suffocating, and the soft light of the lobby became blinding. A cold, calculating fury took over Sarah. The lawyer within her awakened, sharpening her senses and directing her mind to action. Her blue eyes, once gentle, now gleamed with an icy intensity, and her posture, once relaxed, became rigid and determined. She was not just a wife and mother, she was a lioness protecting her cub, a warrior of justice ready for battle. "Take me to the police station, now." Her voice was calm, but the authority in every syllable was undeniable. The manager, intimidated, hastened to arrange a car. The journey to the police station was a blur of thoughts and emotions. The urban landscape passed quickly by the window, but Sarah did not see it. Her mind was on David, on Lily, and on the absurd injustice that had befallen them. The sound of the police siren, which once warned her of danger, now seemed like a lament, an echo of the pain her family was feeling. Upon arrival, the atmosphere was heavy, laden with bureaucracy and suspicious glances. The smell of old paper and bitter coffee filled the air, and the distant sound of ringing telephones and muffled voices created a symphony of despair. Sarah, head held high, entered the police station. She saw David sitting in an interrogation room, his expression tired, but his eyes, upon seeing her, lit up with a mixture of relief and shame. Lily was in another room, huddled in a corner, with the woman who had kidnapped her sitting nearby with an air of false benevolence. The sight of her traumatized daughter and humiliated husband further ignited the flame of determination in Sarah. She introduced herself as David's lawyer and wife, demanding explanations and the immediate release of her husband and daughter. The police officers, accustomed to dealing with criminals, were caught off guard by Sarah's calm demeanor and authority. She presented David's identification documents, Lily's birth certificate, and their marriage certificate, each document irrefutable proof of the truth. The woman who started the commotion tried to argue, but Sarah silenced her with a look that promised retribution. The situation was clear. A grotesque error, motivated by pure prejudice, had been committed. Sarah not only explained the situation, she dismantled it, piece by piece, exposing the fragility of the accusations and the cruelty of discrimination. The air in the police station, once heavy, now seemed to vibrate with the force of Sarah's conviction. She would not rest until justice was served not only for her family, but for all those who suffered from the blindness of prejudice.
The news of the incident at the Grand Hyatt, New York, spread like wildfire, fueled by indignation and disbelief. David and Lily's case became a symbol of the persistence of racism, even in a society that prided itself on its modernity and tolerance. Sarah, with her sharp mind and unwavering determination, did not hesitate to take the case to court. She sued the hotel for negligence and discrimination, the police for improper and prejudiced conduct, and the woman who started the commotion for defamation and assault. The stage was set for a legal battle that promised to expose the raw truth of prejudice. The courthouse was an imposing building, with marble columns and an air of solemnity that seemed to suffocate the atmosphere. The smell of old wood and dust hung in the air, mixed with the nervousness of those present. The sound of footsteps echoed in the corridors, and the murmur of conversations was muffled by the thick walls. On the day of the trial, the courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, and curious citizens jostled to witness the unfolding of the story. The tension was palpable, almost visible in the air. Sarah, impeccable in her sober suit, exuded confidence and authority. Her eyes, once icy, now burned with the flame of justice. She presented the case with a clarity and passion that captivated everyone. Every word was a precise blow, every argument a sharp thrust. She detailed David's suffering, the humiliation he endured, the pain of seeing his daughter terrified. She described Lily's innocence, the confusion in her eyes, the fear that haunted her for days. She exposed the hotel's negligent conduct, the police's haste to judge by skin color, and the malice of the woman who, out of pure prejudice, had destroyed a family's peace. The woman who started the commotion, now visibly shaken and with her arrogance diminished, tried to defend herself, but her words sounded empty and unconvincing. The hotel's security guards and the police officers involved, confronted with irrefutable evidence and David's emotional testimony, stammered and contradicted themselves. The truth, like a mighty river, carved its way, washing away lies and revealing the ugliness of prejudice. David's testimony was the highlight of the trial. His voice, calm and firm, narrated the events of that fateful day. He described the feeling of being treated like a criminal in his own country, the pain of being separated from his daughter, the humiliation of having his paternity questioned. His eyes, which once held the seriousness of someone who had faced many challenges, now shone with unwavering dignity. He sought not revenge but justice. He wanted the world to know that love has no color, and that prejudice, however subtle, is a wound that bleeds in the soul of humanity. The courtroom was silent, only the sound of David's voice filling the space, each word an echo of the truth. Many present, including the jury, were visibly moved. The atmosphere, once tense, was now charged with empathy and solidarity. Justice, though delayed, seemed to be within reach. After weeks of emotional testimonies and incisive legal arguments, the verdict was rendered. The jury unanimously found the hotel, the police, and the woman guilty. The decision was a landmark, not only for David and Sarah, but for all who fight against racism and discrimination. The hotel was ordered to pay substantial compensation for moral and material damages, and to implement mandatory training programs for its employees on diversity and inclusion. The police officers involved were suspended and subjected to a rigorous internal investigation. And the woman, the instigator of the entire tragedy, was convicted of defamation and assault and ordered to perform community service at a civil rights organization. The victory in court was bittersweet. Justice had been served, but the emotional scars would remain. However, David and Sarah emerged stronger, more united, and with an even greater conviction in their ideals. The experience, though painful, transformed them into even more fervent advocates for equality and respect. They used the platform the case provided them to educate, to inspire, to show the world that love, in all its forms, should be celebrated, not condemned. Lily, although still carrying the memories of that terrible day, was recovering. The unconditional love of her parents and the support of her family helped her overcome the trauma. She learned early on that skin color does not define a person's character, and that true love transcends all barriers. she became an even more empathetic girl with a deep understanding of the importance of acceptance and diversity. Even today, in the 21st century, racism is still a wound that insists on persisting. The story of David, Sarah, and Lily is a painful reminder that prejudice can manifest in subtle and brutal ways, and that the fight for a more just and egalitarian world is far from over. But it is also a story of hope, resilience, and love. It is proof that even in the face of adversity, truth and justice can prevail. It is a testament that love, when genuine, is the most powerful force in the universe, capable of tearing down walls, healing wounds, and building bridges. The color of Lily's innocence, the unwavering union of David and Sarah, and the courage to fight for their rights became a beacon, illuminating the path to a future where skin color is just a detail, and love, the only universal truth.